I am starting seeds for my fall crop. Yeah, so I've actually started a lot of seeds already, but I'm doing another succession of them. Also, some of the soil that I have that I started the seeds in is turning green on top, and I'm quite sure that's not good. So I'm gonna be starting some more stuff that was in the soil that's turning green. But I thought I'd go over some varieties today. A lot of this stuff is actually very new to me. I've never grown a lot of this. Again, I'm quite new to gardening. I mean, I've had little gardens in the past, growing up. I've grown watermelon before, and zucchini and summer squash, and like marigolds and zinnias and some beans, and just simple stuff like that, but I've never really expanded. I've certainly never grown brassicas like cabbage and cauliflower and broccoli. So I'm excited to start a lot of this new stuff. I don't think I've ever done root crops either. I might have done carrots before, but I don't think I've ever really explored that area of gardening. So I'm excited to do that this year. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of fails, but you never know until you plant. You definitely won't get a harvest unless you plant something. So I'm gonna try that today, and I'll tell you the varieties I'm growing, how I'm starting them, and all that good stuff. I live in Zone 9 in Florida. It's very hot where I am. We don't get many frosts, and when we do, they're not very low. I don't think I've ever seen our temperatures go below 23 or 24. So I mean, and when we get a frost, it's very, very rare. So I have a very long growing season. The first forecasted frost isn't until November 24th, and I mean, even last year, I don't think we had our first frost until the end of December, or maybe even beginning of January. So I might even have longer than that. We get chilly temperatures, usually in the winter. Our steady temperatures are between like 35 and 45. I feel like that's, our cold weather. So it really is a nice area to grow some stuff. So I'm gonna start with, I think, leafy greens and brassicas. So I'm gonna be growing this Japanese flowering kale from Baker Creek. It's really pretty, so I'm really excited about this one. I've grown kale before, and I didn't start it inside, and it just never took off. I got a couple of leaves from it, and that was it. And they were very bitter because I started them outside in the heat, and they just weren't good. Same with my lettuce. I started all of that stuff outside. It just didn't take off. It didn't do well because it's so hot here. So I'm starting it inside, and I'm hoping that I'll get a good harvest from it this year. This is the Paris Island romaine lettuce from Livingston. So that's gonna be fun to grow. I am also gonna be doing, where did I put my, nope, here it is. Okay, I've also started some rainbow Swiss chard. I did that outside because I've heard that one is more heat tolerant. It looks so pretty. I'm excited to see that. And a lot of them have already come up and are doing pretty well. I think I'll be starting some more of this Butter Crunch. Okay, this is called Butter Crunch lettuce, and this is also from Livingston. So I'm excited about that. And the Swiss chard I just showed you. So that's what I'm doing for leafy greens right now. I think I started some spinach as well. I actually don't remember if I did or not. Oh well, I'll move on to flowers now. I've already started lots of different types of zinnias and some marigolds outside, and those are all doing very well. And I'm gonna try some sunflowers. This is the Velvet Queen sunflower from Ferry-Morse. Did I say that right? Is it Ferry-Morse, or? I don't know. That's what I'm calling it. So this is a sunflower Velvet Queen, and it's supposed to bloom in 75 days. So I should have plenty of time to grow that. And this is, I'm very excited about this. This is the Queen Lime Peach Zinnia. It is so beautiful. And this one is from Legit Grow Flowers. They're on Etsy. So I got these, probably more money than it's worth, but that's okay. I'll save seeds from it and it'll be worth it. I've already started these seeds. What kind of zinnia is this? Canary bird yellow. I started those outside. I started these Cracker Jack marigolds. I love these things. They're so beautiful. I started these funky flowers. These are the candy stripe zinnias, and they look so fun. I'm excited about those. And then I started this Cosmos. This one is called Double Click Cranberries Cosmos. So I started those. I think that'll be pretty as well. I also started some Purple Prince zinnias outside. I think that's all for the flowers right now. Let's move on to root veggies. I'm nervous about the root veggies because it is so hot here, and I've heard when you grow things like radishes in the heat, they're very like spicy. I don't love spicy, so we'll see. These are the Bull's Blood beet. Started some of those outside. All of my root veggies I'm actually starting outside because I feel like starting those inside, transplanting them could go very wrong, because if you do one mistake, your root is pulled out of the ground and it won't grow anymore. So I'm starting all of those outside, but I have a shadier part of the garden that I think they'll do okay, and I've got a lot of them to start up and they look fine. All right, this is the Marion rutabaga, also from Baker Creek. Those flowers I just told you from, those were all from Livingston. So I forgot to say that, but they're from Livingston. But this is from Baker Creek, and these beets were also from Livingston. I should have said that. I forgot to clarify. All right, this is the All-American parsnip. I've never eaten a parsnip, but I loved reading like the Little House on the Prairie books, and I would always hear them talk about putting parsnips in stew. So I thought that would be fun. My mom is a vegetarian, but she doesn't actually like a whole lot of veggies, which is really funny to me. But I'm big into them. I'll try anything. I've tried eggplant. That was like the one veggie I just didn't completely love, but I'm willing to try it again. Okay, this is the white icicle radish from Livingston. I planted these around my squash and melon plants. I've heard this can deter some pests, so I'm gonna try it. I figure it's worth a try, and I'll at least get a harvest from it probably if it does nothing else. So I thought it was worth a try. Just bumped my coffee. All right, this is the Malaga radish, also from Baker Creek. These were from Livingston. Okay, the Malaga radish is from Baker Creek. It's really pretty. I love growing things that are pretty because I feel like it's just insurance to keep growing stuff when it's so hot and you're like, why am I out here? Because you're getting pretty stuff and you're feeding your family. Okay, this is the French breakfast radish from Livingston. I've heard this is a really good one to grow. I started the Amarillo carrots outside from Baker Creek. And I think that was, no, that's not it for the root veggies. I also started these, okay, let's see if I can say this. I'm not very good at pronouncing stuff. Hinona Kaboo turnip from Baker Creek. I probably didn't say that right, but that's okay. And the Cylindra beet from Livingston. So I think that is all of the root veggies I started yesterday. And let's see, my table is a mess right now. It's a complete mess. Did I go over brassicas? I didn't. I did not go over brassicas yet. Okay, I'm going to be starting this, another really hard name to pronounce, Violacio de Verona cabbage. Violacio de Verona, I think. But again, I probably didn't say that right, and that's okay. But it's a beautiful cabbage, and I'm really excited to grow it because I love cabbage. It's so good with a little seasonal salt and some cornbread and some black-eyed peas. So good. Okay, this is the green sprouting calabrese broccoli. This is from Livingston as well. And this one looks so cool. This is the Romanesco broccoli from M.I. Gardener. It's an heirloom and it looks so stinking cool. This one says it takes 65 days to mature. I'm so excited about these. It just looks awesome. I did start this Utah tall celery. My husband and I like celery, and it would be pretty easy to preserve in the freezer, I think. So I started a lot of these already. And then I'm moving on to squash now. This is all stuff that I've already started, and I'll be doing a lot more of these things today as well. Now, squash, I've heard, does not like to be transplanted. It doesn't like its roots disturbed. So I've been starting all of this stuff outside so that I just avoid that disturbance. But this is something I started yesterday. This is the zucchini long white of Palermo. It's really pretty. I've never seen a zucchini quite that color, so I'm excited about that. I started honey nut squash from Baker Creek. This is also from Baker Creek, if I didn't say it. So this is a honey nut squash from Baker Creek. I believe it's just like a butternut squash, but a little smaller. And this is a winter squash. You grow winter squash in the summer, though. They store longer than summer squash because you pick summer squash before the flesh gets hard, so it doesn't last as long. So winter squash is just called winter squash because it stores longer, not because you grow it in the winter. It will die if you grow it in the winter, so don't kill it. All right, I also started these Seminole pumpkins yesterday, which is really cool. The Seminole pumpkins were grown by the Seminole people, or they were Indians from Florida in the Everglades, and so this is actually from near my area, so that's really cool. I'm excited to grow these. This is by Transcendence Seeds. I just got these on Etsy because I couldn't find them anywhere else, so I just did a quick search on Etsy and these guys had it. I think that was it for the squash that I started recently. I've started some other really neat squashes like last month, and they're doing really well, but I won't go over those right now. Melons. I did start some melons yesterday. That is not my melon box. Where is my melon box? Here it is. Okay. I started, not the Alibaba. I didn't start that one recently. Okay, I'm just doing stuff that I started yesterday because I have started a lot of other stuff in the past month, but that would be a very long video if I went over all that. All right, this one I'm excited about. Never tried this variety. It's called the Orange Tender Sweet, and it's from Burpee Organics. It's a watermelon. It's also a heirloom, and it looks really cool. So I'm excited about this. This is a 90-day variety. I still have about 115 days in my season before the first frost is forecasted, so I should have time for that. This is called the Kajari melon. I'm really excited about this. I believe it's supposed to taste kind of like a mix between a honeydew melon and a cantaloupe. But look how cool it is. This is also from Baker Creek. This is the Triple Crown watermelon. It is a hybrid, and it's from Ferry-Moore's. And this is an 80-day variety, so I should have plenty of time to grow that. And last but not least is the cucumbers. Cucumbers are like my favorite thing to snack on. I love cucumbers. All right, one of the ones I started recently is the Bait Alpha cucumber. This one you're not supposed to have to pollinate, and I learned the hard way that you do need to pollinate your cucumbers. I don't have just a ton of pollinators right now, unfortunately, and so I'm having to hand pollinate a lot of this stuff. But things like squash and melons and cucumbers, they really do well when you hand pollinate them. But this is called the Bait Alpha cucumber from Baker Creek, and you don't have to. This one's really good for high tunnels, I've heard, because you don't need pollinators from them. If you didn't know, because I learned this the hard way, there is a male flower, which just looks like one of the regular flowers, and there's a female flower with like the mini fruit behind the flower. So it looks like a smaller version of what the fruit is behind the flower. I just thought that meant that the fruit had set, and so I left them alone, and I was so confused when they would get about an inch long and they would just rot and die. I was like, what in the world? The plant looks healthy. It's a nice deep green. I mean, what is going on? And so I went on a Facebook group and had told them, my cucumbers are dying. They're setting lots of fruit, and then at about an inch long, they just die off, and I don't know what's going on. And so everyone said, you need to pollinate them. And basically, silly me just said, oh, but I mean, they're setting fruit, so I think they've been pollinated. I said, no, that's just basically their ovary or the egg. It's the female flower, and it needs to be pollinated by a male flower. So I did that, and sure enough, they were right. But yeah, so don't make that mistake. That was a sad mistake. I lost many a cucumber to that. I actually never got to taste any cucumbers this year because when my cucumbers were ready to pick, I was on vacation and I came home and the deer had pulled all my cucumber plants up, or they had just eaten it down to a nub and they never came back. So that was very sad. So I've done another round of cucumbers. That's the Bait Alpha by Baker Creek. And then this is called the Armenian yard long cucumber. It's really a melon actually, but it tastes like a cucumber and it really does look like one. It's just a really big cucumber. So I've heard that these do really well. So that is what I started for the cucumbers. And I think that's all. I'm actually going to start a lot more of this stuff. I'm going to start some cabbage and broccoli and some lettuce and kale today, and probably some flowers. So thank you for joining me, and I will try to keep you updated on how this stuff does. Bye. Oops.